My name is Thida. I'm a 28-year-old female from Bangkok, Thailand. I fell in love with an American tourist. We were deeply in love, or so I thought. I moved back with him, and that's when things started to change. I noticed red flags left and right, and then I felt the biggest betrayal I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm a 28-year-old. I'm a Thai woman by the name of Thida. I often get compliments on how attractive I am, with my smooth olive skin, long black hair, and the loose braid that I generally wear down my back. I have a thin-toned frame, and I'm average height of 5'4", thanks to my daily yoga practice. I frequently gravitate towards bold hues and comical prints in my outfit as a recent college graduate with a degree in fashion design. I enjoy experimenting with various fashion trends and putting different items together to create outfits that are particularly, well, mine. Yet, since I was raised to be well-mannered and respect others, I always make sure to dress modestly and appropriately for the situation. The best thing about me is my personality. I'm affable. I'm charming. I have a friendly grin that makes others feel comfortable. I have a terrific knack for listening, and I'm always ready to offer someone my listening ear. I love meeting new people, establishing connections, and I think that everyone has something worthwhile to contribute. Despite being outgoing, I'm also incredibly independent and motivated. I have high expectations for my career in fashion design, and I'm prepared to put in a lot of effort to get in there. I don't mind taking chances or going after new possibilities, since I think that success and growth comes from pushing outside of your comfort zones. Ultimately, I'm happy with my identity and my origins. I attributed much of who I am today to my Thai background, and I make a point to uphold the tradition in all I do. I firmly think that perseverance, good deeds, and optimistic outlook can get you far in life, and I eagerly anticipate where my journey will lead me next. My story starts like this. On my way one day, I made the choice to get a coffee at my to-go-to restaurant. I was in a good mood because I had just landed a new customer for my fashion design company and was headed to work in the bright of the morning. My eyes were immediately pulled to a man seated at a table as I went inside. He had strong shoulders, a sculpted face, and was tall. He had this neatly managed dark brown hair that was pulled back over his scalp, and he had a perfectly kept beard. He was dressed in a perfectly made navy suit, a pristine white shirt, and a navy tie. He had a watch that appeared to be expensive, and his shoes were shined. I could not help but give him a moment of my undivided attention before proceeding to the counter. I sat down at a seat close to him after placing my normal coffee order and tried to sneak looks at him without even being too noticeable. His attractive appearance and endearing personality definitely won me over. Before long, he caught me looking and flashed me a smile. "Hi there," he said in a smooth American accent. "I hope I'm not bothering you." I smiled back, feeling a bit shy. "No, not at all. I was just admiring your suit. It's very stylish."
"Oh, thank you. I take my style very seriously. I'm Jack, by the way."
I shook his hand, feeling a jolt of electricity, and I said, "I'm Thida." I started talking to him, and I soon felt attracted to him. He was charming, witty, and full of fascinating anecdotes about his time spent living in America. I found myself listening intently as he described his work and business to me. He had these sparkling blue eyes that reminded me of the sky on a very clear day. While we conversed, and he had a knack for putting me at ease with his smile, which was definitely contagious. We conversed for what felt like hours, and then before I realized it, he had to leave.
"I'm sorry to cut this short, Thida. I have a meeting I need to get to."
I felt a pang of disappointment, not wanting our conversation to end, but I say, "That's okay," and I was trying to hide my disappointment. "It was really nice talking to you, Jack."
Likewise, Thida. Maybe we can meet up again sometime."
I nodded eagerly, feeling a flutter in my chest, and said that would be great. He reached out and took my hand, giving it a gentle squeeze.
"Thida, it was a pleasure."
He then walked out of the cafe, leaving me ecstatic and euphoric, and I kept thinking about him as I walked to work and pondered on our future encounters. The next morning, as I walked to work, I had the horrible feeling that I had not asked Jack for his phone number. I was so engrossed in our talk that I entirely forgot about it. I scolded myself for being weak-willed and for not initiating the exchange of the contact info. Yet, I wasn't going to let this chance pass me by so easily. I made it a point to go to a cafe every day after work, in the hopes of seeing him there. I put on my nicest clothes and took additional care with my hair and cosmetics in an effort to stand out to him. I tried not to seem too desperate, but I could not help feeling that I needed to create a good impression first. Without success, days passed, but I remained persistent, and I simply felt compelled to see him one more time. On the 5th day, just as I was about to give up hope, I happened to look over and see him seated at the same table by the window. As I approached him, my breath caught in my throat.
"Hi, Jack," I said, trying to sound casual. "Ah, Thida. I was hoping to see you again."
We started talking once more, and this time, I made sure to get his number. He presented it to me happily and invited me out on a date that weekend. I could not believe my good fortune. When I walked out of that cafe, I had the impression that I was walking on air, and was eager to see what lay ahead. Jack and I became best friends after that unexpected encounter at the cafe. We went on several dates, and we were just taking in all that Bangkok, Thailand has to offer. The following is a list of my favorites. Together we delighted in exploring new street cuisines, taking leisurely strolls along the river, watching the sunset. We also took weekend trips to remote islands and enjoyed romantic boat rides along the Chao Phraya River. I could not believe how fortunate I was to have met Jack. It was like a dream come true. Our bond became stronger as the days turned into weeks, and before I knew it, Jack had to depart. Thoughts of leaving broke my absolute heart, but Jack had something special in store for me. He brought me to a stunning rooftop restaurant with a stunning view of the city on his last night in Bangkok. While the sun was setting, Jack proposed to me by getting down on one knee. As I replied yes, tears began to fall down my face. I immediately recognized Jack as the one for me since it was so fantastical. We laughed and celebrated the remainder of the night, savoring the thrill of the occasion while drinking champagne. Jack went for the United States the following day, but we swore to make it work. We disclosed our future every single day, and made plans for it, and soon Jack returned back to Bangkok to marry me, in front of our closest loved ones. Although, yes, it all happened quickly, our romance was genuine, and, well, it was ours. I found it fascinating and terrifying at the same time to consider moving to the United States to begin a new life with Jack. Yet, his response astonished me when I brought it up to him. Jack advised me to apply for a visit visa rather than a spousal visa since it would be simpler to get, and I could just return to Thailand whenever I wanted to see my family. While this suggestion a little bit surprised me, I found it strange that he wouldn't want to submit an application for a spousal visa straight away. But Jack told me it's just way more simple and it's a matter of convenience. He assured me that once I got to the United States, we would handle everything. I was reluctant to go along with his idea, but I did it. I started making preparations for my trip to the United States, and before I knew it, I was flying across the globe to be with Jack. It was exhilarating throughout the first few months in America. Jack gave me a tour of the area and assisted me in settling into our new home. Jack and I moved into our new house, which was in a calm suburban area once I arrived in America.
Living in such a different environment from Bangkok's bustling cityscape felt so strange. But it was a cute, modest house with a tiny garden in the front yard. The acquaintances I acquired in those first few months were among the factors that assisted me in settling into my new environment. We all grew close after Jack introduced me to some of the neighbors and their wives. I enjoyed spending time with them, trying out different dishes, exploring the neighborhood, since they were friendly and welcoming. But regardless of how welcoming my new friends were, I still had a hard time adjusting to several cultural differences. One challenge, was the language barrier, which persisted throughout. Even though, yes, I was good at English, I sometimes had trouble understanding words or different ways how they used them that were completely foreign to me. I start to realize there was a problem with our relationship as time went on, and the thrill of being married, it faded into the sky. The fact that I'd never met Jack's parents was one of my major problems. He always told me they resided in another state, and that he was too busy with business to see them. But I could not escape the sensation that something wasn't adding up on my calculator. No matter how much I cared for him, I could not help but feel uneasy every time the subject came up. That was a persistent sense that I could not ignore no matter how hard I tried. I was convinced that something was strange about our connection, and I was compelled to find out the reason I hadn't yet met Jack's parents. I kept bugging him about it, but each time I did, he would dismiss me or become hostile. I finally lost it one day and demanded to know the reason he was keeping them a secret from me. "Why won't you let me meet your parents?" I asked with my voice raising. It's none of your business. I'll decide when the time's right." "But why can't we at least talk to them on a video call, or see pictures of them?" "I said it's none of your business. You should be grateful that I brought you here to America in the first place." His deceitful actions absolutely astonished me, and they further confirmed my thoughts that he was keeping me a dirty little secret. I became increasingly concerned that something was wrong, as he made a greater effort to push me away. It appeared as though he was the only factor in our relationship, and that my emotions had absolutely no bearings at all. The affable Jack I first met in Thailand had completely changed, and his recent conduct had been unpredictable. I was beginning to feel as though I've married him with a really bad decision. What's up, everybody? So part 1 of this story left us on a cliffhanger. It was actually a little bit of time before update number 1 came out. Guys, I hope you're having a fantastic day. If you're new to the channel, click that subscribe button so you never miss another story. And let's jump into today's update number 1. I came to the conclusion that I needed to take charge of my life. I needed something to give me meaning, because I've been feeling so alone since moving to America. I applied for a position at a nearby clothing store because of this. The idea of working in a field I loved and getting to meet new people absolutely excited me. I was eager to surprise Jack when I received the job. He would be pleased with me for making this decision and adding to our family's income, and I knew it. He didn't respond as I had anticipated when I told him, though. He wasn't pleased with me. He was absolutely enraged. Why did you do this? There's no need for you to work. I make enough money to support us both." "I know, but I feel like I need to do something useful with my time. I've been sitting around all day doing nothing." "That's not even true. You take care of the house, make sure everything's running smoothly. That's more than enough."
"But I want to do something for myself."
"Well, you shouldn't have gone behind my back and applied for a job without telling me first."
I was taken back by his reaction, and I had not realized that getting a job would be such a big deal to him. It was as if he wanted to control every aspect of my life.
I did not understand why he could not be supportive of me and my goals. I worked at that boutique throughout the ensuing weeks, doing my best to juggle my career and my responsibilities at the house. Although, yeah, it was difficult, I felt as though I was at least using my time in a worthwhile way. Nonetheless, the tension between Jack and me persisted. I constantly felt like I had to tread carefully around him because of how cold and aloof he was. When I returned from work one day, I discovered Jack seated on the couch and engrossed in the television. I tried to stay away from him and get on with my business, but I just could sense that he was upset. He, however, would not let me and got in my face.
Hey, why are you ignoring me? I need you to start paying some attention to me. Right now, some attention.
I am not ignoring you. I just don't want to bother you if you're not in a mood to talk.
That's not good enough. You should always be available for me.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize.
What's wrong? Don't you want to talk about it?
No, it's nothing. I just need you to be here for me. I made an effort to support him, but he appeared unconcerned and uninterested in what I had to say. It appeared as though he had entirely abandoned our relationship. I began to question whether traveling to America with him was the right decision for me. I began to see more and more warning signs in our relationship as the weeks passed. Jack, he was constantly on the phone, and I don't know, when I would inquire about his calls, he would become combative. He began leaving the house more frequently and staying out later, leaving me all alone. And every time he did return, he was inebriated and combative. Update number 2. It's been some time. Hey guys, just another update about my situation. Sorry it's been some time, but it's gotten worse. It has not gotten better. One night he came home stumbling into the house after being out with his pals and began ranting at me. He said I did not love him and I did not value what he's done for me. He told me that I should be thankful for everything he had given me and that I was fortunate to be living in America. I tried to calm him down, but suddenly he got even more angry and struck me across the face. I was broken and shattered, and my perceived friend and lover just raised his hands towards me. I experienced a trifecta: fear, rage, disorientation. Well, the fact that this had occurred to me left me speechless, and my thoughts were just racing amongst my mind as I tried to think of a solution to get out of this predicament. I was clueless as to what to do, where to go. I had the impression that I was entrapped and was unable to see a way out of this absolute nightmare. It felt like a turning point in our relationship, and there was something ugly in it now. A stain. A nasty stain, something to be ashamed of. I had thoughts that he would apologize to me the next day, or at least acknowledge it. But none of these things ever happened, and slowly this became our new norm. He would hit me over and over again on some perceived slight, and usually after he had something in him to drink. He always acted as if nothing had happened afterward, and if I tried to bring it up, he would dismiss it, saying that he did not remember and that I was making a big deal out of nothing. Well, my visa ran out, so I had to go back to Thailand. Jack insisted on traveling with me and booking a hotel room as opposed to staying at my parents' house. I was told he didn't want to meet anyone on my own. Although I was aware of his tendency to be overbearing, this was a new one. He was always standing next to me, keeping a close eye, and I got the permission and impression that he was concerned that his abuse and, authoritarian tendencies could be discovered. I got to visit my family and friends while I was in Thailand. Being surrounded by those who love and support me made me feel content and at ease. Jack, though, insisted that I leave, head back to America as soon as possible. I was angry and helpless, but I knew there was nothing I could do. Jack's actions were much more erratic after we got back to America. He would treat me nicely for 1 second and then strike out in rage the next second. Because I never knew what would set him off, I constantly felt like I was just treading water. The abuse increased at home in the United States. He increased the number of times he hit me, and once he even gave me a black eye. I was aware that I needed to take action and leave that place. I would remain in this relationship permanently if I didn't take action right away. I was in a foreign place, defenseless and alone after Jack had already cut me off from everyone I knew. I informed him that I'd left the designer boutique in an effort to make him feel better. At first, he appeared relieved and assured me that I had done what I needed to do all along. In truth, I continued to work there, and I took care to plan my time around his arrivals and departures so that he would never discover me. I also started looking into local domestic abuse support organizations at the same time. I just wanted a local support organization for victims of domestic abuse and got in touch with one. We talked about the effects of emotional and mental abuse, coping mechanisms, and a sponsorship program, which provides financial support to survivors through anonymous donations at the weekly meetings. Well, knowing I wasn't alone with this, and it was so reassuring, and the group was fantastic source of support. I once met a lady by the name of Louise. Our similar experiences helped us connect, and we traded phone numbers. While she was a little older than I was, we got along well. We discussed how challenging ending an abusive relationship can be, particularly when the abuser is also manipulative. Luis invited me to lunch with a few other group members after the following meeting. After moving in America, I had not gone out with friends before, so it was nice to have someone to finally talk about my experiences with. We did discuss the various types of abuses we had all encountered while eating lunch and exchanged safety precautions. Louise described to us how she was able to escape her abuser and begin a new life. I was astounded by her fortitude and adaptability. Louise offered to drive me home after lunch. She assured me that she would be there for me if I needed to get anything as we traveled. I was touched by her thoughtfulness and thankful for her demeanor. She also gave me her number and her address, and told me that she lives nearby and to contact her in case of any emergency. Unfortunately, I've been having so much fun that I had not realized what time it was. It was well past 6 o'clock, the time around which Jack usually came home. Stopping on the doorstep and dreading his reaction, I stilled myself before going inside. The second I crossed the threshold, there was a crashing noise and a bottle of whiskey exploded near my head. Jack was standing at the living room entrance, a murderous look upon his face.
"Where have you been, you little girl?"
He yelled at me, looking clearly drunk, and his eyes were red. He was swaying unsteadily, and his eyes were tied, and it was so undone. Scared out of my wits, I tried to calm him down. "Nowhere, I swear. I just wanted to go to the grocery store, nothing else."
Really? Then why did I see someone drop you off? And where are the groceries?"
He began advancing on me, and I backed away, stammering, Just this lady who offered to drop me off on her way home, and I must have left the groceries in the car. My mistake."
"Lies! I know you were cheating on me with someone. That's what you do, all day, every day, when I'm not around, isn't it, you cheating witch?"
He threw the second bottle at me, and this time it crashed amongst my head, pieces of glass raining down around me. With a howl, he jumped at me, raising his fist. He punched me in the stomach again, and again, for what felt like hours, and I doubled over in pain, getting into a fetal position. After his fist retired, he started kicking me repeatedly, telling me that I was going to pay for cheating on him and that he was going to hurt me.
After what felt like an eternity,
he calmed down and we went into the living room. Whimpering, I got up. I felt severe pain in my left leg and there were bruises and cuts all over my body. I limped over to the living room to see him passed out. I hurried upstairs, quickly packing my things and my documents.
I needed to get out of there.
On my way out of the front door, I paused and looked over at Jack. I wasn't going to let this go. Whatever feelings of love I've once possessed for him were a distant memory now. I was going to make him pay for destroying my life and my spirit. I crept over, picked up his mobile phone, opened it using his fingerprint of his drunked-out self, and then copied his entire contact list, sent it to myself. After that, I left the house and called Louise to pick me up.
She came over in 10 minutes flat.
Assured me that I've had a place to stay with her as long as I need. She loaded my things into her car and we went for the first hospital we could find next to her house.
I photographed all my injuries and got a medical report saying that I've been abused.
Update number 3. Sorry guys for leaving the last update incomplete. It's all because of some legal complications I'm going through. I plotted my revenge. I didn't really want to go to the police or take him to court as I was a foreigner with no legal rights in the US. Instead, I would have settled for something else. The next day, I called everyone in his contact list. It was mostly businessmen, friends, until I got to a contact named Martha. After a few phone rings, she picked up and said,
"Hi, can I talk to Jack?"
I called his number and he's not picking up. "Oh, who is this?" "Hi, my name is Alice."
Bluffing in my mouth.
"I'm a work colleague of Jack's." "Oh, he isn't here,"
Martha replied.
"He's been out of town for a while, so it's just me and the kids."
"Kids?" I asked, very surprised.
"Yes, our kids, mine and Jack's." "I'm sorry, could you mention your name again? What do you do at the firm?" Sensing she was getting suspicious, I hung up.
I could not believe it.
Jack was not just lying, abusing idiot, he was a bigamist and a cheater too. It suddenly all made sense. Why he wanted to come to the States on a visit visa instead of a spousal visa, and why he never let me meet my in-laws.
He had been married all this time and had been living a secret double life.
I decided then and there that I was going to expose his face for the entire world to see. I had left the job that I worked at, fearing that would be the first place that Jack would look for me once he found out that I've left him. I made the decision to apply for a work visa after giving it some thought and talking it over with Louise and my support network. I was aware that it would be difficult, but I also knew that it would grant me the independence from Jack that I so desired. Louise had saved my life. She was constantly encouraging and we became good friends. After the weekly meetings, we would drink coffee together and talk about our lives. She was a true buddy. She helped me get an interview with her employer and the owner of a high-end clothing store nonetheless. While I was anxious, I persisted because Louise had encouraged me to do so.
The interview went stunning.
So I was overjoyed when he immediately extended an offer of hand for employment. He also promised to help me with the visa application process. He said actually it's no biggie. Louise assisted me in organizing my paperwork, and my supervisor wrote me a letter of recommendation. We went to the immigration office and submitted the paperwork, and well, with the aid of the immigration attorney, that was a scary process, but I was optimistic. After a few weeks, the immigration office sent me a letter, letting me know that my application for a work visa
had been accepted.
I was so happy I had a hard time believing it. Since moving to America, this was the first time I felt in charge of my life. Update number 4. Final update. This is going to be my last update, well, ever. The next thing I did was contact Martha, again. I explained the entire situation to her, and told her that I had no idea that Jack was already married, and that he had lied and betrayed us both.
She was just as angry as I was,
and was extremely sympathetic towards me after learning of the manipulation and abuse I've suffered under Jack's control. I had support from Martha with the planning, and we were informed when Jack would return from his business trip. So, she surprised him by throwing a party and inviting all of his friends and coworkers. Despite my anxiety, I knew that doing this was the proper course of action. I unexpectedly showed up in front of everyone after the surprise and accused Jack of bigamy and abuse. I showed our marriage license from Thailand as evidence. Jack was astonished and made an effort to deny everything, but I persisted.
I could see the disgusted, disappointed expression on his family and friends' faces. "You're a liar, Thida. You're just trying to ruin my reputation."
"I'm not a liar." My voice was trembling with anger.
"And I'm not trying to ruin your reputation. I'm trying to protect myself and other women from you. You've been abusing me for years, and you think you can get away with it because I'm an immigrant and you're an American, but you're wrong."
And at that moment, the room went silent and Jack started to tremble with wrath. He would face legal repercussions and what he had done. Martha informed him, adding that she had already contacted a very good lawyer. I was relieved when Jack suddenly stormed out of the gathering, and I began to feel as though a burden had been lifted from my shoulders the morning after that night. Since I was no longer Jack's victim, I was free to begin my personal recovery. Even though I still had a long way to go to heal, I knew that my friends in my domestic survival group, well, they were behind me.
But hey, I wasn't done yet.
I wanted him to feel the physical pain that I felt, and 2 months later, after everything had died down, I contacted a few guys from the survival group. I'm ashamed of this, but they were more than happy to go get Jack and beat him up. It was petty. It was cruel. But I think a little pettiness and cruelty were long overdue in old Jack's life, after what he's done to me and probably countless others. They jumped him one evening as he walked to his car, and gave him the same amount of punches and bruises and kicks that I had to endure. My revenge was now complete. I settled down near Luis and decided to stay in the U.S. permanently. Martha, oh well, her discovery of Jack, well, it took to a divorce, and took custody of the kids, and he was kicked out of his firm after his wrongdoings have came to light. I told my entire family about what transpired, and they were sad for me, and it played a big part in consoling me and helping me through my emotions. Martha and I remain friends to this day, and we're planning a trip to Thailand soon, where she wants to meet my family. I came out of a toxic relationship with a new friend, and kids who call me aunt, and I could not be happier.
Wow, what a story. Could you imagine being in Thida's position, going off to a whole nother country, thinking that you found love, but really what you found was nothing more than a dirty cheater? Luckily, Thida was able to get away using some help, and also even get a little bit of revenge. So guys, I want to hear from you. Have you ever heard of anyone in a similar predicament? An abusive relationship or something along the lines of this story? Go ahead and drop your thoughts in the comment section. Share your stories. Guys, that's going to be all the stories for today. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure you subscribe for more daily videos. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next one.